You don't know me and my weakest, never seen me fall. I'm the darkness, I'm the shadows, dancing on your wall. On your wall. I gave all I had, still turned out bad. The angel is gone and moved over. I can't go back, so now I have the devil on both of my shoulders. I'm not saying I'm all evil, but I'm not all good. Fuck up way more than most people, way more than I should. Way more than I should. I gave all I had, still turned out bad. The angel is gone and moved over. I can't go back, so now I have the devil on both of my shoulders. I'm the darkness, I'm the shadows, dancing on your wall. I gave all I had, still turned out bad. The angel is gone and moved over. I can't go back, so now I have the devil on both of my shoulders. The devil on both of my shoulders.
Come on, tough guy.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace, and I see a whole army of my countrymen, but they'll never take our freedom!
It's Flat Earth Friday, and we're going to be throwing down some suspects as well. How are you doing, brother?
I'm great. A little suspicious of the Flat Earth, the Revelation crew, but or the Rapture crew, but I'm not suspicious about our audience. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Absolutely, we're really excited and thankful that you all tuned in.
Yeah, so it's the 22nd, right? And nothing crazy has happened yet that I know of. We've got the 23rd coming tomorrow. The New World Order has done so much propaganda for these days. I keep on thinking that they might use them for something, and so far nothing yet. But one of these days soon, maybe. Right? And then, so tonight we're going to be going through some flat earth stuff. There was some Cavendish experiment done in Estonia that supposedly proves that we're on a ball that we're going to be going through.
Curvature, right?
And then there's all this eclipse talk. So it was like over 6 months ago that we started letting everybody know that all the rapture watchers weren't going to be able to use these signs because they went a month early with making Nissan 1 322. They did not keep Passover in the Lamb Aries, and because of that, they don't get to use these eclipses, but we do. And so we're going to be going through that. They're finally talking about them. We've mentioned, last couple times there was one channel, some channel called the 1111 sign, that had mentioned that there is actually an eclipse coming up this fall. He was the first one to even mention it. But now we've got Aaron from God a Minute.
Well, it started on Bob's channel, but
he didn't actually bring up the Ring of Fire eclipse. He was just talking about the April eclipse.
Oh, that's right. But yeah, so they are bringing it up, but they're bringing it up in one of the most ridiculous ways. So if anyone hasn't noticed, the thumbnail has your top 3 of the Rapture community members on there, and it's a little suspect. They got a little bit of a pig face on them, and we're not holding back anymore. These gentlemen have been all contacted. We've tried to reach out to all of them. None of them are willing to contact. None of them are men enough to come and have a conversation with us, a live stream to talk about these issues. So we're just going to ramp it up, and we're not going to be completely letting on, but there's going to be more too. This is just the beginning of what's going to happen. And they're going to be dealing with some of the dis, and malinformation that they're spreading. So the big thing is, like you had mentioned, is that if you correctly keep the sun in its position, and if anybody hasn't been noticing, we're having a super late summer. The whole northern part of the realm here, even places like Estonia, still in the 20s, right?
Celsius.
Yes. I know that we're the Americans are the only ones that do it with the correct way to do it, right? In the Fahrenheit. It's a better scale, in my opinion, the Fahrenheit. But anyways, back onto that. So we're having a super warm weather, completely, going with the understanding of that when you follow where the sun's position should be, your seasons will be in the correct position. So we're now entering into the fall, and we've got the eclipse coming up. And like you had said 6 months ago, that none of them are going to be able to talk about it being a special time of the year when they're missing out on not only the eclipse that takes place on the day before trumpets, but there's also the blood moon on tabernacles. That's the sun being darkened and the moon being turned to blood, right?
Yeah, the fulfillment of the scriptures. That's it right there.
On very well what we have been counting as the year 5993, which started off with a eclipse that took place over top of the date line. So if anybody's keeping score here, these are amazing signs in the heavens, not fake Oort cloud signs, actual witnessable signs. Okay. And we're here to talk about it, and I'm excited.
Yeah, that was the 420 sign at the international date line with a hybrid eclipse, which is supposed to be super rare.
Yeah.
If you keep the calendar correctly.
Because it was an annular and it was a ring and almost a total. It did 2 types, right?
Yeah, it did both.
Yeah.
And so the one we have coming up here is the Ring of Fire, and that's going to be coming through real close to where we live. We are actually going to be going right to the center of not just that eclipse, but then the one that comes through April 8th that will intersect the location that we went to in Illinois, right by Anna. That was Alto Pass, right?
Alto Pass. And that was in 2017. And that was the other thing we found out today too. We're doing a little research. Jason and I started fighting for truth. I commented on one of Jason's videos, September 16th, 2016. Sorry. That was the first time. So it's been 7 years and a few days since Jason and I started fighting for the truth. And boy, have we ever done some absolute great work together, brother. I'm beyond thankful that we're still here, still going strong, still trying to get better every single day. We haven't changed a bit. We have aged a little bit. Our hair's gone a little longer, but we're still doing the same thing, you know?
Yeah, so 7-year anniversary of knowing each other.
Truth fighting.
Just
What it's been.
just happened. Let's see, tomorrow is the actual equinox. You know, they usually say September 21st is the equinox, but if you actually go to Stellarium and see when the sun is going to be rising south of east, so it's going to be crossing, like right now, it's crossing the fourth gate, so that tomorrow morning it'll be rising just south of east, and that's the equinox, but it's not equilux. I think that takes place a few days later. Guys like Steve Fletcher will want to tell you that it's happening on the Day of Atonement, but he's entirely a whole month off. So it's just nonsense.
Well, and you know, all the Rapture Watchers said it was the perfect Feast of Trumpets sign that they had. It was the second revelation sign without the 12 stars upon her head, nor was the moon at her feet, nor was she clothed with the sun. But they said it was the perfect Revelation 12 sign, but it wasn't. That happened in 2017. What are the other things that I wanted to point out as we move forward into this was just that the fact that the Revelation sign team now are saying that we're in the final Jubilee. So the next 7 years. So what they had to do was shoehorn the 6,000 years of the 120 Jubilees, because they think they're going to be raptured out of the reality here. They needed to be the year 6,000, right? But we're only in the year 5993. And then we've got Rapture Watchers like Brenda Weltner, who's trying to tell you that we're, what did she say, in 27? She was saying that we're in the year.
Yeah, she's also a 777er, so she's saying that
we're 3.5 years away from the 120th Jubilee. So they're all wrong, right? The 6,000th year will be 2030, which will be 120 Jubilees from the beginning of Adamic line of creation. And we're going to try to, you know, get that hammered down a little bit more specifically as we move forward. But that's not what tonight's about. Tonight's about the Cavendish experiment. And then we're going to talk about some eclipses, right? You're going to show some stuff about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Teresa Lee mentions in the chat something about the Pope removing 10 days from the calendar. It doesn't make a difference because we go by the true Hebrew calendar, which is set by the sun, moon, and stars. And so you could apply any Gregorian date to what we're doing. We're going by the Hebrew calendar with the sun, moon, and stars. We watch for the new moons, we watch for the full moons, and we make sure that they're in the correct signs. And we understand all that. We've got videos showing how to actually reckon that. And the True Hebrew Calendar is in the description box under Fundamental Truth number 5. And so that's been like 3 years now. It was in the fall of 2020 that we started keeping the True Hebrew Calendar. We went through the work, the effort of understanding how it works, and since then we've all been doing it together as a group. So if anybody's found any sort of issues with it, it's been tweaked, there's been revisions, but there hasn't been any real revisions to it for a long time now. And we knew at the beginning of the year that the rest of the world was going to, they go by a 19-year Metonic cycle, which means since the year 325, when the Vatican sort of won their thing, they set a day for Easter, which is a pagan holiday, and they just have this 19-year cycle that it doesn't matter if the barley is a beeb, it doesn't matter anything whatsoever. They just have a 19-year cycle that just repeats over and over and over. And of course, this year they're off. Now, when we get to the eclipse of April 8th, 2024, that's when we actually come back into alignment again. So they're
adding a month. We added a month last year because that's what it dictated, the sky, where the sun's position was. And they're going to add a month at the end of this year because that's what some smart mathematician told them to do, to keep it close, because they're lazy, right? Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, I think it's actually more because they want to be able to be off. They want to be able to be wrong. You'll see people say that the new moon is when there's no moon, which is unsightable. you'll hear people say that trumpets is a day long, 2 days long, 3 days long. Let's just, let's
Yeah, we
go
have
a whole month of trumpets just to be safe, right?
we got Brenda Weltner calling it the Feast of Atonement. The one thing that you're not allowed to do on the Day of Atonement is eat, is feast. But she called it the Feast of Atonement like 4 times in her video. I mean, it's just crazy, this nightmarish world we live in. And, mind you, the people that are in our chat, we know that you guys are here for truth and you love truth. But everyone else in the reality here absolutely hates truth, including down to the fact that they call our Savior, right, the one and only Savior, they call him Earth Pig. If you haven't noticed, the thumbnail is a bunch of pigs, and the name Jesus literally means Earth Pig, right? And it's funny because you would see that, okay, so the great heliocentric deception, the deception that's confused and deluded almost everybody, we've all been fooled by it, right? Barely, maybe there's, I don't know how many people, 10, I don't know how many people never believed in it, but a lot did. And you have these people that'll believe in this heliocentric model, which was created by a Vatican Catholic Jesuit, right? But then what you try to understand is that not only did they do that, but they definitely went in and changed the names. And then they didn't make them in a good way. They call the Father Godriel, short formed to God, God, as you'll hear the Zionists call him God, or however they are. They won't even pronounce this name correctly, which is a short form for the name Godriel, the one who fooled Eve. And then they changed the son's name from Yahawashai, right, to Jesus. And if you do the math and you go and you check it out, the GE and SUS, because there was no J sound before the 1500s. So they actually did have GE and SUS. That absolutely is Jesus, which means Earth Pig. Like the Italians call him Porco Dio, the pig god. And that's what they've done. They've done it for thousands of years. And we've come out and we showed you, not only were you lied to about the shape of the reality, you were also lied to about everything else that the government's up to. But these Christians, so-called Christians, want to hold on to names like Earth Pig and Godriel, right? And yeah, it did say in the scriptures that those names would be blasphemed, but we're not going to have it. We're done with it. Jason has put it back straight, and we're going to fight for it. And we're not holding our punches anymore. It's on. If you guys aren't going to say our names, you're not going to be men. You're going to be cowards. You're going to block us on all your different platforms. You're not willing to have an open conversation like men. We're going to get tougher and tougher on you. And we're going to continue to expose you. So you guys better have your seatbelts on, because this ride's about to get moving forward. And I don't think people are ready for it, because Jason and I have been holding back for a good, 5 years? Longer?
Yeah, we're going after the pig people now. We're gonna light up the pig people. If you're a pig person, you're a Jesus, a sus person. No, not anymore. We're going to humiliate you. We're going to mock you. We're going to show everybody what a Vatican stooge you are.
That's right. And if you actually look at the way John the Baptist and Christ actually talked and treated people, you're going to see it's a lot different than what these modern day Christians are going to tell you. These once saved, always saved guys, they don't have a clue what they're talking about. Well, they're actually taking money from people, making a den of thieves back into the Father's house. There's no difference. These are the same guys that were scribes and Pharisees 2,000 years ago. And we're tired of it. We're coming out. We're not holding back. And we don't care if you say, oh, that's not a Christian. Well, you don't know what a Christian is, because you know what a Christian is? Someone who finds and fights for all truth, not lies, disinformation, and whatever sounds good. No, truth. And you're going to get it. So I don't have too much more to say. I do want to get into this Cavendish experiment, but hopefully the pig people know it's on. And, there is one way to deal with this where we'll stop. You can have a hangout with us publicly, and we can go over all your miss, and malinformation, and then it'll stop. And we won't make videos about you anymore. If you come and answer to your deception, your miss and malinformation. And if you don't do it now, I'm telling you, things are going to get worse. If you perchance happen to die, it's going to be real bad for you at that moment. And if the two anointed ones come and they're going to be dealing with you, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah, that could get real nasty. All right, well, enough preamble. Let's get into it, brother. What do you say?
Let's go.
right.
We are back. Everything should be good. I think everything should be clear. Everybody can hear me. And I am screen sharing.
You are up.
Should be. Everything should be nice and clear. Okay, so let's get into this. This is the Cavendish experiment. So this took place in 2019 in Estonia, and this was what touted the end. This brought forth the end of the Estonian flat earth movement. Sadly.
Very sadly.
Yeah, it's crazy as we're going to get into exactly how it went so wrong. So let's look at this. Scientists, they say here, once again convincingly proved that one fool can ask more questions than 10 wise men can answer. So they phrased the article that one flat earther that showed up, Hondo, was able to ask questions that the 10 wise men could not answer. So on both sides, they ended up being stupid. But at the end of the experiment, they said proved that the earth was round. It says here, Cavendish experiment on the left and convincing proof that the earth is flat on the right. So again, what we've seen time and time again, if there's ever a debate, ever, about flat earth versus round earth, you'll see the flat earthers touting up the pizza map, the United Nations, Freemason, New World Order, floating in outer space, domed, infinite pond flat earth with an ice ring around the outside of it. It's the straw man that every heliocentrist wants to debate because it's retarded. It doesn't match reality in any way. Jason and I have debunked it over 60 ways.
It's only got one pole, right? And Earth has two poles. So right there, done, over. Just stupid.
We don't even have to show you. Where's your South Pole on this map in the sky? Because on Earth, you can point your compass 180 degrees in the sky due south, and you'll hit sigma octans when you go below the southern half of the map, right? Earth has four corners. Where's your four corners on your AE circle map? There aren't any. But on the left here, this is their supposed makeshift Cavendish experiment. We'll get into what the Cavendish is after I get through this article. It says here, on Saturday, September 28th, physicists from the University of Tartu conducted an experiment known as the Cavendish experiment. It took time and effort, but the experiment, they say, was successful, which means that the Earth is round. which is crazy. We'll get into that. So Handu Tanumu, I can't pronounce his name correctly. I'll try my best. Who organized the event, we'll just call him Hondo, could not explain the experiment or the shape of the Earth convincingly enough either. We could try to explain the successfully conducted Cavendish experiment, it says here, but who cares about the scientists' blah, 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 oh, I know numbers and can calculate type talk. So even Hondo himself couldn't debunk the experiment, nor could the experimenters debunk Hondo. So it says here the star of the experiment arrived later. When Cavendish's experiment was successfully carried out and convincingly proved that the Earth is indeed round, the present scientists looked at each other triumphantly and cheered the results, sort of like the Indian space landing on the moon, right? If you watched how they faked the Galaga landing. It says here, quote, this is what I also don't understand. We get disgusting, weird sexuality brought into this. It says there was so much sexual energy locked up in the room after the results were announced that there was not much left for an orgy to break out, commented one of the...
Oh.
Yeah, this is what they're saying.
Oh, so the heliocentrists think that with the Cavendish experiment that they should have an orgy.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to do here. It says, oh no. But then the door opened and Handu, I guess is Tanmua, a well-known flat earther, or they like to put in the translation here, flatlander, entered, who got into a heated argument with the experimenter, that's physicist Ular Kivila, who obviously underestimated Tanuma's tree head or thick head, said those people that were present. So there's a video we'll go to here. We can't transliterate it, nor were there closed captions, so I can't. It was just a stupid argument they were having. And it says here, after the conversation between Tanuma and Kavila, in which other scientists intervened with varying degrees of success, everyone present stated that although they convincingly proved to themselves that the Earth is round, they still could not make it clear to the skeptic who came. When the physicist Kavila tried to beat Tanmua in a debate with facts and logic, Tanmua quickly put Kavila on the spot with questions such as, you can't think logically, can you? Or, are you sure?
After such groundbreaking questions, the protection of the scientist also broke into pieces. So what we had here was the collapse on both sides. It says here, yes, the bitter taste still remained in my mouth from the experiment, but at least we once again, they state here, proved 100% that one fool can ask more questions than 10 wise men can answer, added Kavila, the physicist who conducted the experiment at the end of the evening. So right off the bat, I just want to say that this clown show that took place here we had the two men that were in the debate here. He walks in. This is Hondo. Hondo was your original flat earther in Estonia, right? And Estonia is a very scientifically touted, high intellectual nation. They pride themselves on being intelligent, right? So they did this experiment. They didn't show any of it in any of the write-ups. They didn't get into any of the science. They didn't explain how the Cavendish experiments proved that the Earth was round, right? And we find out that there was a GoFundMe, and they raised 1,264 euros, almost 2,700 euros to fund this, to build this apparatus. They have a laser here, a torsion beam in the sky, and two balls hanging. And they were trying to state that due to the fact that this ball on this end moves closer to this ball, they think that that proves gravity, which then they go on to determine the weight of the Earth and everything in the universe.
There is no universe.
That's what they say. Now, I mean, first off the bat, the Cavendish experiment is a joke. It's never actually been replicated or proven to work in any shape or way. You'll find in universities and high schools, they have the so-called Cavendish experiment sawed in half because they don't work, and they use them as a talking piece. But let's get into a quick video here. There's Genevieve here who apparently is going to explain it to us. Let me mute. Let's play this, and we'll talk after this.
Gravity. No one knows why it exists. It is responsible for just about everything that happens in this universe, yet we truly have no clue why.
So I just got to pause it. I mean, this is what the scientists come on and say. Everything that they hinge everything on in their reality, the Big Bang heliocentric model, all hinges upon gravity. It's the big G. It's the G in Freemasonry. It's got real. He's got the G in his name. And it's not provable. She just said it. So right off the bat, she's debunked her own video. Look, it's a sad face, right? But with their mathemagic, they're going to try to prove it. You want to say anything?
No.
Aren't that smart yet. However, we do know that it exists, and we know that any two masses are attracted to each other by a gravitational force. This was first published by Sir Isaac Newton, who went even further to find that these forces of attraction were directly proportional to the masses of the objects and inversely proportional. So this was Isaac Newton, who came up with the theory that he thought if he shot a cannonball off into the sky at the right angle, at the right speed, that it would just circle around the Earth forever. That was his theory, right? Proportional to the distance between the two objects. That is, the larger the masses, the larger the gravitational force, and the larger the radius, the smaller the gravitational force. He developed the universal gravitation equation F equals g m1 m2 divided by r squared in 1687. No one knew yet what the constant g was. It was just thought of as a constant. So again, they created the mathemagic first, and it's basically like a card trick. Trust me, I can do card tricks, and I can also expose a guy who's doing a card tricks. You stack the deck in a way that you know that the third card is going to be the Queen of Hearts, right? That's how you do it. They back engineered it. They needed gravity to be this number, and then they put all the other numbers around it so that they end up with that measurement. That's how they've done this. I wanted to know what it is, so I turned to our AP system. All I got was a number, 6.674 times 10 to the negative 11th Newton times meter squared divided by kilogram squared. I mean, couldn't they go 6.66, right? I want to know why is this number that number, so I must dig deeper, which means I must go back in time again. After Newton came along Henry Cavendish.
Sorry about that. I don't know why I went full screen.
British natural philosopher, chemist, and physicist. This guy was super smart. In 1798, he wanted to calculate the density of the Earth, so he set up the famous Cavendish experiment. He made use of a balance developed by the geologist John Mitchell to measure the force of attraction between two sets of balls. Here's how it worked. Cavendish had
Did you catch that, everybody? Did you catch that? So the whole Cavendish experiment hinges upon the fact that they think that they can have two lead balls attract closer to each other. That's what this whole experiment hinges on, right?
Lead balls attached to either end of a wooden rod suspended from a wire. He also had two 348-pound balls fixed equal distances from the wire. He even covered his experiment in a thick wooden box with 2 holes for observation to prevent interference from air currents. Now,
So that is huge. She just busted by that. Okay. I want to slow down here. For this experiment to be conducted correctly, you can't have any outside influence at all. At all.
Uh-oh.
At all. You can't. So Cavendish supposedly had a telescope that he was looking through a window and that he had a scale behind the 2 balls and that they moved. And we're talking, wait till you guys see how ridiculously small. See, this is the problem. Hundo, this guy here, this guy, the first flat earther, obviously was either paid off, right? Or he just wasn't as intelligent than that he thought he was. Because when you start to get into the actual sizes of the degrees of these numbers, we're talking 6 decimal places.
Is there anything that's measurable to 6 decimal places?
When I was in Tool and Die, now I think we were 3 and 4 decimal places tops. So, no.
let me take a moment to clarify that the force of gravity is very real. I exert a gravitational force on everything else, and everything else exerts a gravitational force on me. But what keeps everything from colliding with me are opposing
Is that the loudest that video will go?
Yeah, sadly.
poles from other objects. So, in Cavendish's experiment, friction has been almost entirely removed. Now, the small balls are free to move towards the larger ones.
She said almost entirely removed. I mean, this is supposed to be the calculation that proves the Earth is round. You guys are following us? And she's only in the left. She's not stereo sound.
Causing the rod to turn and twist the wire. Knowing the torque or twisting force of the wire
But it's the best definition.
and time the bar rotated and the weights of the balls,
Explanation.
Cavendish was able to make his calculations. Here are his original measurements. Ironically, he found the density and mass of the Earth, but never recorded G.
Ah, get that, everybody? He never was able to calculate or measure the actual force of gravity.
The value was not actually documented until 1874, when Cavendish's experiment was replicated and G was found to be within 1% of the modern-day value. So though the measurement came from Cavendish's experiment, he did not discover it. Sorry, Henry. To show that both Newton's original concept and that Cavendish's experiment work, I replicated it to the best of my ability.
So let me explain to you how this works here, okay? You got one crazy guy, Isaac Newton, who was a raging homosexual, hated women, wore wigs, right, pretended to be a woman, forged gold, right, for the Queen and King of England.
Vatican guy that was behind the
Creation.
creation of the Freemasons and the Jesuits.
That's right. And the names. His pen name was Jehovah. Right.
Yep.
That's all true. You guys can back check it. Go ahead and prove us right. So what they do is one guy comes out with a satanic idea, and then hundreds of years later, another one comes up with what they do is a magic experiment or like a magic show. They want to glue some popsicle sticks together. Modern day guys like Jeranism will take a little magnifying glass. Or David Weiss will do it in his kitchen with some ketchup bottles and a string, right? This is how liars and deceivers work, because true people that want to experiment the shape of the Earth, they're not going to go into a room here and hang 2 lead balls from a roof. They're going to go out and observe the ocean. They're going to observe the distance to the vanishing point. That's how you're going to test things. You're going to actually weigh something. You're not going to put 2 balls and see if they attract close to each other, right? Let's keep going. We're almost through this.
As it turns out, F equals G M1 M2 over R squared can be rewritten as G equals 2 pi squared L theta R squared divided by T squared M. This is accomplished through substituting kappa theta over L for F, where K, or kappa, is the torsion coefficient of the string, and theta
She's
is
better than Reds. Reds, this girl, she could teach you.
the angle the bar turns from the rest position to the equilibrium point, measured in radians. K can then be replaced by 2 pi squared ML squared theta divided by T squared, where L is the total length of the bar in meters. With some rearranging, the equation becomes G equals 2 pi squared L theta R squared divided by T squared M. G is the gravitational constant in Newton meters squared divided by kilogram squared. L is the total length of the rod in meters. Theta is the angle in radians the rod rotates while oscillating, which will be explained in a moment. R is the distance in meters between the equilibrium point and the center of the fixed mass. T is the period of oscillation in seconds, and M is the value of the larger mass in kilograms. If you want to see a more complete explanation of the derivation of this equation, there is a link to an article in the description. So moving on to my extremely simplified version of the Cavendish experiment, I used 2 bowling balls and 2 steel balls. Here are my measured values before the experiment. The main goal is to get the force of torque from my fishing line to match the force of attraction between the masses, so that the rod can oscillate around an equilibrium point. It oscillates because the momentum of the ball moves it past the point where these 2 forces are equal before it is pulled back by one of the forces, either the force of torque or the force of gravity. When it reaches the equilibrium point again, it still has momentum and so moves past, and this process continues forever and forever. Obtaining this oscillation was much harder than one might think. I had many instances where the torque force was not great enough, so the 2 just became permanent friends. In other instances, the force of torque was too great, causing it to swing full circle. It was also crucial not to disturb the system with any air currents or vibrations, which meant me leaving my camera on time-lapse mode and coming in and out of my room only to stop the camera or readjust the bowling ball.
Hold on. Hold on. Right there, you've just thrown out your whole entire presentation. Your whole experiment needs to go into the garbage.
You can't enter the room.
No, nor can you shake the floor, open the door. You can't have any. So listen, everybody, if you open the door and you have your air conditioning on or your heating on and some air blows through here, it's going to move these balls.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, look, okay, let me finish this before I get into more.
Finally, I was able to get it to oscillate around the point after many, many tests. It goes up, then it goes back. This continues for hours, but I'm only showing a small portion of the test just to prove they work.
Proven.
That's the proof of gravity you're there, right?
At this angle of 3 degrees or
Hold on.
0.0523599 radians, a radius of 0.17526 meters, and a period of 31 minutes or 1,860 seconds. When plugged into the equation, I get a value of 9.018 times 10 to the negative 10. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Excited.
Why am I celebrating? Because considering the value of G is so incredibly small and there were large uncontrollable
Tiny.
variables in my experiment, such as air currents or the frame rate of my time-lapse, which could cause error, it is in the very close ballpark of G. Here are the 2 numbers written out from
There it is.
That's G.
for clear
Hang on,
comparison of
Wish.
their difference. Science on a budget.
Look, do you guys know how impossible this is to actually witness and measure? This is a non-witnessable reality. There's not a tool or a device in this reality. She said that the distance that, where is it? Let's go back. This little tiny angle here that it moved. When she set it up and left the room, it moved this far. And so she had the mathematical equation set up that she needed it to be. So she just said it moved that far.
GM
Because she couldn't have actually measured that small of a calculation. It's impossible, you guys. I mean, Jason, can you measure something and mark it like that? Like right here?
comparison of their difference. Science
So I'm a wood carpenter, and I could probably get something down to
That's 10 decimal places.
a 64th. I could probably be that accurate with wood. Metal, you can go farther, be more accurate than that. But yeah, definitely once you get into that many decimal places, it's immeasurable. There aren't any tools. Yeah.
You're saying on 64 on this side.
Yeah, well, that's a fraction. These are decimals. But
Yeah, to express it would it be sound ridiculous. We'll just continue here.
not always get you the right decimal. I will wrap this up by explaining the hidden G many people are not aware of.
The hidden G.
When we want to find the weight of an object on Earth, we are told to multiply the mass in kilograms by 9.8. 9.8 is actually just the mass of the Earth multiplied by G and divided by the radius of the Earth squared. Now Cavendish can actually help us out here as he found the mass of the Earth.
that would mean you would have to know the radius of Earth,
Well, it's
right?
crazy.
So how do you know the radius of Earth to do the G calculation?
You don't. And not only that, she stated that Cavendish had figured out the weight of Earth when she already said in the beginning of the video that he never was able to calculate G. Listen.
9.8 is actually just the mass of the Earth multiplied by G and divided by the radius of the Earth squared. Now Cavendish can actually help us out here as he found the mass of the Earth. Thanks, Henry.
How?
This also shows that gm1 divided by r squared is the acceleration of mass 2 as caused by mass 1, or vice versa. Hopefully, even though this video got no one any closer to understanding the source of gravity, it helped you understand that G. Squared. That literally tells.
It's like a kid doing this, right?
And then be linked to an article.
I think your mic's out.
It's probably a first-year university student, but listen, We're going to go into a clip here, but what I want to state is that she in no way was able to measure anything to the 10 decimal places with this crazy experiment. Nor, if there's anybody in the chat that thinks that a bowling ball is going to pull this other, if you think that these two things are going to magnetically attract together, listen, we've got bridges for sale. Okay? Like, so this topic came up, would have been 2014, 2015, a long time ago, the first ever baller skeptic debate. It was John LeBon and Matrix Decode, two guys that I was friends with. I was in the back chat while this debate was taking place. Jason, you can put the thumbnail on. I'm going to play a clip from that debate where this topic of the Cavendish experiment came up, and you're going to hear just how bad it was. Was his name Zilla? Flat Zilla, but he wasn't flat earther. He was a jerk. Let me know when you're ready. And we're going to hear how it actually sounds.
We're good.
When you have two educated people discussing things, not like Hondo and Kavila. We're actually going to hear two actual debaters. This is John LeBon speaking and Flatzilla. So listen to this argument.
You've been very cleverly and masterfully avoiding the topic of the gravitational.
That might be a little too fast.
Let me get that turned back down. Sorry about that. I can listen to things a little bit quicker of a rate, but maybe you on the other side of the screen aren't trained. Here we go. Let's go.
Oh, for God's sake, no, I haven't. I'm sorry, but that is a completely disingenuous tone. I have not been avoiding gravity.
Well then, can you please explain to me how we arrived at the gravitational constant?
I know that there's the Cavendish experiment, and I know that experiments have been done recently and since to try and verify what the gravitational constant is with increasing accuracy. My point is that when it comes to the shape of the Earth, it's a question of geometry, not of physics, so I don't really need to touch on gravity in order to deal with the geometry of the Earth.
Well,
I don't mind touching on gravity, but it just has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth in terms of the geometry of the Earth. And I think you're trying to steer it to this because you don't want to deal with geometry, because you know that geometry just craps all over the idea that the Earth isn't a ball.
I mean, I don't know how he could say that. They were letting him get away with it, but no, when you go out, you can absolutely measure flatness, the geometry of the realm, the geometry and the properties of water. But let's continue.
Yeah, and the other thing you can't measure is curvature anywhere. Nobody's been able to measure curvature anywhere ever.
And the original scientific experiment that took place in Estonia, they were touting that they proved that the Earth was round. Now, the Cavendish experiment set out to prove that there was such a thing as gravity. And there's a reason why they need to use gravity, because gravity is what they then go on to state is what allows water to curve, which absolutely is not physically repeatable, representable, or even verifiable. You can't physically see. And not only that, we actually use water to build buildings, and we use them to make it level. Water literally levels out when at rest. It does not curve to the center of the Earth. A tire is not level all the way around the center with a string. It's curved. It's not curvel. It's level. But let's keep going here. John LeBon is about to hand this guy his lunch.
It's a ball.
Well, I've been very patient with you. Now I've got a couple of questions for you. You brought up the Cavendish experiments. Now these were the experiments back in the late...
No, I want to go to the geometry, please, and I want to deal with the gish gallops that are coming.
I'll be more than happy
I'm sorry,
to do that, but I think fair is fair here. We've listened to you. Now I've just got one line of inquiry for you. You brought up the Cavendish experiments. I'm glad that you did. For listeners who aren't aware, the gravitational constant that is still used by so-called scientists to this day was determined in the late 1700s by hanging two heavy balls from a torsion balance. Is that your understanding, sir?
He doesn't want to answer.
The gravitational constant on which all of your theories are based was determined in the late 1700s. Is that your understanding, sir?
No. No, just because Cavendish started the experiments going doesn't mean that we're using the measurements from that. You do realise that scientists repeat experiments, improve experiments, and continue improving those experiments and those measurements. The gravitational constant we use today is not the one that Cavendish figured out.
And what?
That's a huge problem. Everything that they hinge and base their reality on, the fact that we live on a spinning sphere, that they think, it all goes back to Cavendish's experiment. The fact that it's not the same is not good for them. That he got it wrong, right? He used the term increasing. What did he say? Acceptability? No, accuracy. Supposedly they're getting more accurate, but John LeBon's clearly pointing out that they're still touting scientific evidence that was made in the 1700s, in the year 2014, 2015. That's what you believe in your baller theory, the 1700s.
How different are they? How much has it changed in those 200 years?
Oh god, it hasn't had to change too much as far as I can remember.
No, isn't that amazing? Gravitational constant on which all of this is based has changed less than 1% in more than 200 years. Were you aware of that?
Yeah. Yep, 1% down to 6.67.
Oh, not 666.
Oh wow, so great, our measurements have become more precise.
Yeah, so you don't find that at all remarkable that the gravitational constant on which everything else is based, especially to do with gravity, was determined to within 1% of our current figure more than 200 years ago by hanging balls from a torsion balance. You don't find that noteworthy?
No, considering we use different methods of doing it today that come back with the same, more or less the same result. And I'm sorry, but I want to get back to the actual questions of the shape of the Earth. And I think what you're trying to do is trying to shift it away from the geometry because you know you can't deal with it.
Oh, on the contrary, my friend, I think all night you've been
You
avoiding
stay on the
gravity.
contrary, but you keep going to this non sequitur argument.
Well, all night you've
Tell
been
me
avoiding
this, do
gravity.
you
and I think it
understand
was
this very simple fact that the only thing that determines the shape of an object is geometry? Do you understand that very simple fact?
Oh, I'm happy to discuss geometry, but I think all
No,
night...
it's a yes or
Can I get a pause here, brother?
do you accept that the only way to define...
So it was in the Cavendish experiment that we were just watching from Estonia that they were saying that proved that we're on a ball, right? So it's absolutely, these guys contradict each other. The heliocentrists do. One group will say Cavendish proves that we're on the ball, and then you have another guy shilling for the globe that says no, that has nothing to do with the shape of Earth.
Yeah, gravity doesn't matter, right? It's all about geometry. Well, the other ones are saying exactly, very well pointed out that the experiment they did proved that the Earth was a ball, that it was round, right? Not that the gravity was real. Right? So you can hear they double speak. If you had the double speak tongue, you don't have it set up yet. Excellent point.
define an object is geometry? Do you define the shape of an object? Do you accept that's the only way to define the shape of an object?
I accept that you use geometry in your calculations, and I don't even
No, it's a yes or no question. Do you accept that geometry is the only thing you can use to define the shape of an object? Do you accept that? Yes or no?
Yes, of course. It's a simple question. The issue with
fine. Then geometry is the only thing we need in order to determine the shape of the Earth. Then let's talk geometry.
So the Cavendish experiment that they did in Estonia had nothing to do with geometry.
Right.
They say that it proved that the Earth was round, geometrically.
Right. Yeah, full contradiction.
All we're trying to establish is how you know that the Earth is a sphere, and you depend on gravity to know that the Earth is a sphere.
Now, I don't depend on gravity to know that the Earth is a sphere. I depend on geometry, and you've just admitted that geometry is the only way to define the shape of an object.
Okay, and we'll come back to that geometry. I'm happy to do that.
No, we're going to stick with that geometry because it's the only way to define the shape of an
You had 90
object.
minutes to make your case, sir. You had 90 minutes. I'm just spending a few minutes right now on gravity. Your gravity constant, hasn't changed more than 1% in more than 200 years.
It has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
But you need gravity to explain the force, to explain your
No.
kinematic movements, don't you?
No, gravity.
You need gravity to explain why water doesn't
is a
spin.
very good. Gravity is a very good dynamic model for describing the kinematic model. It's not that we need it; it's the one that's the absolute best that fits with all observations and all measurements we've made.
And you also need gravity to explain why the water doesn't fly off the ball, don't you?
No.
Yeah, they do.
You don't need gravity to explain why water doesn't fall off the
That's pure bullshit. Like, without gravity, you can't have the ball because they say the gravity is what holds the water to the ball. All right, it's natural. If it's a flat plane, the water just sits down and level. But if Earth is a globe, you have to have the gravity to hold the water upside down.
Absolutely.
You don't need gravity to explain why water doesn't fall off the ball due to centripetal force.
No. Not if we're talking about the shape of the Earth, because it's quite possible the shape of the Earth and the motion of the Earth are two completely separate questions.
Are you denying that the ball is spinning on the spinning ball heliocentric model?
No, what I'm saying is you're setting up a non sequitur and you're doing it on purpose because you don't want to deal with the geometry, because you don't want to deal with the shape of the Earth. You want to set up a non sequitur argument that has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, and then say, see, so the Earth can't be the shape you say it is. I'm sorry, that's a non sequitur. Whether the Earth's moving or not has nothing to do with the shape. We can talk about the Earth's motion, but we're here to talk about the shape of the Earth.
I spend more than an hour listening to you talk about geometry. Now we're going to spend a few minutes talking about gravity. Now, if the Earth is spinning, it should have centripetal force. That should...
Did it stop? You there, brother? Did I lose you?
And the water isn't flying off, and it's not flying off what it should be due to centripetal force, due to gravity, then all of a sudden you do need gravity, and it does become important. And I think
I don't.
Starting to work out why you're avoiding this.
So what John LeBon is absolutely pointing out is the fact that when they tried to start to promote the fact that we were living on a spinning ball Earth, and the scientists and people were seeing that there was water everywhere, they had to come up with gravity to hold the water to the ball. And so what they needed was the Cavendish experiment to help them fool like a magic trick over top of the people's minds. And the way they do it is they bury it within math, with an experiment of a telescope looking through a glass and two lead balls hanging from a shed. And when they, I'll continue here, but you're catching my drift.
No, I'm sorry. I need it. If the Earth is in motion, yes, there are forces keeping the Earth together. Fine. But I don't need it to prove the shape of the Earth. The shape of the Earth and the motion of the Earth are two separate questions. We could argue that the Earth doesn't move. Well, fine, it's not going to change the shape of the Earth. And actually, then I wouldn't need gravity at all. I can still have a round Earth with no gravity.
And so that when they say round Earth, that's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard a person say. If you're a globe earther, oh, Earth is round. Come on, like that is a two-dimensional shape. That's like pizza pie model bull crap right there. So you either say that you're on a ball, a sphere, or you just sound retarded calling it round, a round Earth.
A round Earth, two-dimensional Earth.
Yeah.
Roughly 1,000 miles an hour at the equator at surface level, don't you?
Doesn't matter, I'm here about the shape of the Earth.
But you also are arguing that the Earth is spinning, are you not?
I'm arguing about the shape of the Earth. I was brought here to talk about the shape of the Earth. I can talk about the motion of the Earth.
No longer trying to defend that the Earth is spinning. You're going to stop trying to defend that argument now, are you?
No.
So you are going to argue for the spin. That's fantastic. So you do need gravity, don't you?
We need a force. There is a force that holds things together. There is a force that attracts matter to matter.
No.
In all directions. We know it. We can see it.
No, there's no force that attracts things to another. There's been zero proof ever that you can take something of any size and it doesn't attract something to it. Now, a piece of dust might land on it, but that wasn't attracted to it. You can't put a bigger ball someplace else and it's going to suck that piece of dust off of the other thing based on the size of that thing, and it's going to go over there. That's just pure horse crap.
When I parked my car downtown Toronto close to the Sky Dome, a giant building with the opening and closing roof we have there, my car didn't get sucked closer to the building. It's as retarded as somebody telling me that my car parked is moving 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, to get into a big city, all you have to do is just point your car towards it, and it's just going to get attracted to it, right?
Oh, Wrong button. But
Suck to the city.
Basically, that we've pretty much got to the end of that. I'll put this in the chat. So basically, it came down to the globe earther had no proof, and he got belligerent and angry. He started to have coughing fits, and he ended up quitting out. There in the chat, I'll put it in the comment section below after the video. That was from the Ball Earth Skeptic Roundtable debate with Red's Rhetoric, Flatzilla, and Matrix Decode, and John LeBon. And it was an excellent debate. The John and Matrix, when they finally got this chance here, it was Matrix Decode who was quiet. You couldn't hear him. He was the one that was arguing about gravity and the whole Cavendish experiment. So everything that these so-called ball earthers hinge upon their reality has to have the big G, the gravity, which they invented when they came up with the theory of ball earth. They had to have the gravitational pull, everything being attracted to the center. But the problem with it is that everything else that we observe in reality, the stars, the sun, and the moon, everything would have already crashed into the face of the earth if the so-called larger objects are pulling things to the center of mass. It all is just falls flat on its face. There's no experiments. He wants to talk about geometry, but he doesn't actually want to go out and measure the earth. The only thing that Flatzilla and Red's Rhetoric wanted to do was debunk the fact that there was only one pole on the AE map, right? Or that the sun was rising south and setting south of east, instead of doing a right-handed circle around the AE map. We could debunk this all day and all long, but the conclusion of this is that both sides of these ball earthers talk out of their ass. One says that we don't need gravity, and then the other one says gravity proves that it's round. And then they're not even saying that it's a spherical shape. One says it's a pear, one says it's a ball, one says it's perfectly round. The picture from NASA when they went to the moon supposedly showed a perfect sphere. Right? No bulge at the equator due to the fact that it's centripetal force pushing the water outwards if the earth were spinning, nor have we ever had any evidence of the earth being a sphere, ever. And if Hondo had have done a little bit more thinking and research, he would have easily been able to debunk the fact that they can't even measure anything to the 10th of a decimal place. There's not a calculator, there's not a measuring device ever created that can even come remotely close to that. A vernier caliper, maybe 4 decimal places to 5 decimal places. I don't know if they've gotten better since I was a tool maker. Like 15, 20 years ago, I did tool and die. My grandfather was a tool and die maker. And we didn't have anything that could measure 10 decimal places. That's asinine. So, it's just sad. I'm gonna unscreen share, Jason. And, it's just sad that, a lot of people in Estonia were led to the slaughter, and I don't think Hondo really put in the effort. He could have done a much better job and, come up with some good conclusions as to why the Cavendish experiment is such a joke. So it's either one or the other. Gravity's real, we live on a spinning sphere, or it's not real, and we live on a flat earth. I'll leave it on you on the other side of the screen to believe which you think is true.
Yeah, everything about heliocentrism is just downright stupid. We've got Blessed Family that brings up magnetism. So heliocentrists say the Earth's core is molten iron, right, which cannot be magnetic. So there goes your your magnetic poles, right? So just every single aspect of heliocentrism, you gotta be dumb to believe it. You're like, as soon as you look into it and you look at how things actually work, and you start using your own brain, you start to realize that this is just a lie from the Freemasons, from the New World Order. And sure, they had us all fooled. I grew up thinking that I was on a ball. Ronnie grew up thinking he was on the ball. But as soon as somebody opens your mind to you thinking about it, and you going out and checking it for yourself, that's it. Then the whole ball thing just falls to pieces. You start to see who made it up, and it's those homosexual Vatican people that
at the end of this.
Yeah.
A lot of the times you'll find with these guys, they're fags. We're not on Rumble anymore. They're doing disgusting things. Their minds are in disgusting places.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back, and we are going to get into the eclipses. How's that sound, brother?
Sounds great.
And we're back. And we're back with an oldie, but a goodie. Yeah, this
Wow.
is...
How far are we going?
We're going back to March 5th, 2023.
Not too far back.
Yeah. This is when we... Well, let me show you. We'll come back to this spot. We're at 3453. But... Alright, so this is when we let all the rapture community. So here's the big names in the rapture community. You know, Barry, James, they...
Minus the pig faces. Like we had said, we ramp things up. The further we go, we're going to continue to ramp things up. That's how we do it. It's Jason's way.
Yep, Aaron. Haven't seen this guy around in a long time.
Yakko. Well, he's doing the 23. Or no, that's Ken Potter. Sorry.
Harry Potter, according to Mr. Bones.
I'll mute.
Yakko, here we are at September 22nd. Tomorrow, the 23rd. We'll have to see. I mean, where is he? I mean, these are his dates. Tony Tooney, he got sick. He's sort of out of the game now.
Serious back problem.
Yep. Fink he's
with his face. He's Torah.
Yeah, he's still doing Torah. He's not doing Rapture anymore.
The Feast of Atonement. The Feast of Atonement. Let's see what happens, Brenda. He's teaching on atonement today in the incorrect time, following the Yids.
Yep, Fletcher, he's still going. And this is Pastor Sandy Armstrong.
Oh, scary.
He's a Torah guy. He went to Israel to learn Yiddish.
Same with
Leland here. He was at that sacrifice on the mount along
on your left
with James and with Nick.
And Nick.
Right.
True.
So that's the rapture community. Right? If we had Scotty Clark on here, we would have had the guy that brought out the rapture thing. He disappeared right after it. But there was Scotty, there was Adam, and Fletcher. And all these other guys have come along afterwards. Those were the only OG guys that are still going.
Yeah, Aaron and Barry are, like a year, right?
Yeah, maybe two. I think there may be two now.
Same with Yakko and Harry Potter, same.
But if we go back here, what we did in this hangout is we showed everybody what eclipses are coming up. And this one right here, this is a big one. This is coming up October 14th. And it's going to be coming from the West Coast. And it's going to be coming right through Texas. And we are going to be there. We're super excited about it. I was blown away that Fletcher didn't talk about it. It actually turns out that Fletcher is in this eclipse. So he's in the Yucatan. And he had this eclipse. It's going to come over his place as well. He's just now starting to talk about it. Just now. But we knew about this 6 months ago. And we've been sharing this. And they cannot apply this to the calendar. So if you watch here, we've got a calendar. It's in the description box. I'll bring it up again tonight. But that annular eclipse, which is the Ring of Fire eclipse, I mean, that's special. Ring of Fire.
Remember, we had an eclipse starting the year off. With our new year was brought in with an eclipse.
Mm-hmm. And now we're going to have an eclipse just on the eve of trumpets. Because there will be a new moon sighting October 15th, and that will be the first day of the 7th month. That will be
first of Tishri.
Mm-hmm. So they call these the 10 days of awe here. No. Looking at the scriptures real carefully, the Day of Atonement begins on the sundown of the 9th, and it ends on the sundown of the 10th. So it crosses these 2 days, October 23rd and 24th. That's the Day of Atonement. It's not a feast. In fact, it's a fast. So
no eating allowed. Sorry, Brenda.
Yeah. Now, something that not a single one of these rapture people have talked about yet is the lunar eclipse that's showing up on the 28th, 29th. that's the beginning of tabernacles. So we have the sun being darkened here, and then we have the moon being turned to blood here. That's really significant because that's what the scriptures talk about. That's the sixth seal right there, everybody. That is the sixth seal. So we talked about it here, and we showed all the eclipses, and we've got a 7-year calendar here that goes through to 2030, and we've got all the eclipses on it, both lunar and solar. So definitely check that out, everybody. I want to show everybody the lunar eclipse. Nobody's talking about this. It says right here on Google, lunar eclipse 2023, October 28th. They call it a partial eclipse of the moon, but yeah, the moon is going to turn blood red October 28th on the first day of tabernacles. And one of the things that I want to do here is point out to everybody how the eclipses actually debunk heliocentrism. So many heliocentric shills say that flat earthers can't explain how the eclipses work. Well, that's bullshit. Because we can explain how they work, and we can actually show how the eclipses debunk heliocentrism. So this video has been out since, it says a year ago here. This premiered March 12th of 2022. And so we're going to go through a couple of the debunks here just to make sure everybody realizes that eclipses are not in the favor of heliocentrism. They are a debunk of heliocentrism. So let's check these out. A little bit deeper. Let's take a look at what heliocentrism calls the nodes. We have the March equinox and the September equinox being labeled as the nodes. Each of these nodes are the only time eclipses of the sun and moon could ever take place. Looking at the Alright, so just pointing out here that this is a diagram that all you have to do is search and you'll see this graphic. Now I've added some stuff to it, but the nodes, they say, are the only time eclipses can take place, because at the solstices they say the moon is too high or too low, and that's the reason why we don't have an eclipse every full moon. Right? That's the explanation. So they say we can have no eclipses at the solstices and only at the equinoxes. In the diagram, we can see that there are only two possible times this could happen, and that it is at the equinoxes, which have been labeled nodes. Let's zoom in on the March node, as this will be the easiest to see. In heliocentrism, the moon must transit in front of the sun in order for a solar eclipse to take place. Now, as we know, in heliocentrism, the Earth is moving 67,000 miles per hour around the sun, and the moon is traveling 2,288 miles per hour around Earth. So we see here at the March equinox that Earth is moving 67,000 miles per hour this way, and that the moon is moving 2,288 miles per hour this way. With Earth having a diameter of less than 8,000 miles, the transit of the shadow would take roughly 6 minutes and 56 seconds at the combined speed of 69,000. Alright, you see this, everybody? So, distance 8,000, speed 69,288, because you combine those numbers together, the 67,000, because it's like two cars passing each other on the highway, right? The impact, if a car is coming at you 50 miles an hour and you're going 50 miles an hour, the impact is of 100 miles an hour. If the two cars are going the same direction, well, you're going 50 miles an hour and somebody's going the same direction as you at 40 miles an hour, there's only a 10 mile an hour impact if the vehicles hit each other. But when they're going opposite directions, you combine the numbers. So when you combine those numbers, 288 miles per hour. Although this, right, so the maximum length of any eclipse would be 6.92761 minutes. That's max. Could not be any more than that.
This is an extreme stretch considering that the moon's orbit is said to be an average distance of 239,000 miles, thus making the alignment extremely difficult. The longest total solar eclipse ever recorded was 6 minutes 38.86 seconds. But that was the length of totality for an observer, anywhere along its path.
So now we're talking about totality, right? That's the length of time that you see totality.
The actual length of the eclipse transiting across the face of Earth took over 5 hours. So the first debunk of helios.
So you've got length of totality down here, you've got time of day up here, and you're going to see that it takes
here is that the length of solar eclipses that we record and witness are much too long for the heliocentric model.
All right, 5 hours, 15 minutes long, right? But we saw mathematically in heliocentrism, the eclipse could not last longer. It couldn't last 7 minutes. It couldn't. But it takes 5 hours and 15 minutes for an eclipse to move across Earth like this. And that 6-minute measurement is only totality that we're talking about.
Another way to debunk heliocentrism is that we can literally map which direction an eclipse has to happen and at what time. If the Earth is moving this way 67,000 miles per hour and the Moon is traveling this way 2,288 miles per hour, then to have an eclipse, be it total or annular or partial, the path of the eclipse must be from the south to the north during the March equinox.
You see this? If the Moon is inclined like this, going around this direction, that means that the eclipse would have to come from the south to the north during the equinox, the March equinox.
The reciprocal is true during the September equinox. In this case, eclipses must happen from the north to the south. The paths of totality promoted by heliocentrists shows that it is not always the case though.
So the eclipses that we have coming up right now sort of fall within expectations for heliocentrism. But if you take a look at eclipses in general, they absolutely debunk heliocentrism.
Sometimes the paths are going the wrong direction, which is heliocentric debunk number 2. There is another closely linked debunk of heliocentrism, and that is the direction that the path of totality shows up. The path of totality could only show up on the ground as traveling from east to west, due to the direction of rotation of Earth. Let's zoom in here a little bit and watch.
You see this? Like the shadow is moving from east to west.
Path of totality of a solar eclipse is a narrow, roughly 70-mile wide band that experiences the sun fully blocked by the moon. With Earth spinning in the direction required for sunrise to be in the east and sunset in the west, we can clearly see that all eclipses must begin in the east and travel west. This is an unarguable point, and the reason why this is heliocentric debunk number 3.
So we did debate some guy named T-Jump and some other guy, and what was that guy's name? I forgot. And they said if you put the moon in motion around here, that it would be going the correct direction. So we actually modeled it up, and in this hangout here, Moon in Motion 5 debunks heliocentrism. This was 7 months ago. We did all the modeling, and in motion we're actually using a light source that is casting a shadow. So there's a light source back here, we've got the moon in motion, and you can see how the shadow turns, and everything is worked out where I set it up so that the moon goes around in 1 minute, and then if the moon takes 29.5 days to go around, right, then that means that the Earth has to have spun 29.5 times during that time period. And so we've got all this modeled out exactly the way it would be in heliocentrism. And guess what? The shadow still, you see The Earth's rotating in the so we got the moon doing its rotation, we've got the Earth doing its rotation to scale, and what do we get? We still have the shadow working from the east to the west. Shadow moving.
It's clearly moving from the east to west.
No, it's not. That's not going to happen.
So
in October,
no. So
it's going to come from the west, just like it did in 2017.
yeah. So you can see the shadows here on the east coast. Everything's to scale. So here's where we got to do the mathematics, everybody. The way the scene is built. All right. So go check that out if you don't believe me, or go model it yourself, and you will see that if you model it to heliocentric specs, you're going to have a shadow moving from the east to the west. That is a heliocentric debunk. I want to give special attention to heliocentric debunk number 4 because it is the most easily verifiable debunk of heliocentrism in my opinion. Let's focus on the fact that the only time a lunar or solar eclipse could ever take place in heliocentrism is at the March equinox and the September equinox. Do you see that? Do you remember why we're looking at this graphic? It is because this graphic is the explanation of why we do not have lunar eclipses every full moon. Scientists have put the moon at a 5.1 degree tilt to the ecliptic plane in the reciprocal direction of Earth's tilt, to get it out of the way. That is because without this motion, the moon would be eclipsed every full moon.
Every full moon.
So look at what happens as a result of this. Lunar or solar eclipses cannot take place anywhere near the December solstice or near the June solstice. The model literally makes it impossible for either a lunar or solar eclipse anywhere near these dates. So what happens if we look up the dates of projected lunar and solar eclipses? Will we get any outside the narrow window of the equinoxes, which are the only times that are possible with the heliocentric? Hello, what is that? June 21st. That's literally on the summer solstice. Literally on it. This is the most impossible thing in the world. Like, so there is no possible way that the eclipses work in heliocentrism.
All right, boom, debunked. Right.
Debunked.
I mean, how everybody needs to just slow down, take a look at that, you know, figure it out.
Here's 1 week away from the winter solstice.
Oh, debunked.
Debunked. Here's like just 11 days away from the summer solstice again. Here's a couple weeks away from the winter solstice. These 4 right here, literally impossible in the heliocentric model.
And we did have YD jumped in. It was T Jump and Mr. Sensible, who I called Mr. Senseless.
Yeah. Of course. Let's look through these lists. So that is heliocentric debunk number 4. Lunar or solar eclipses could only happen within an extremely narrow window of the equinoxes.
Whoops.
Now that we have broached the topic of why heliocentrists use this graphic as to why we do not have eclipses of the moon. Alright, so we're getting the point here. Alright, the eclipses are not a flat earth debunk, they're a heliocentric debunk. Alright, so let's move on here.
What do we got?
This was the first time we heard any of these raptures talk an eclipse at all. But this is just the great American eclipses that come up. Let's check this out.
But Exodus 4:8 is, I was just blown away when Patrick brought that up. I'm going to read it. Then it will be, if they do not believe you nor heed the message of the first sign, that they may believe the message of the latter sign. So Exodus 4:8 is happening on 4/8, April 8th.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
nuts. But that second eclipse is going over Little Egypt, is it not?
See, hold
No.
on, pause.
Yeah.
It doesn't go over Little Egypt. It
No.
doesn't. They just brought that up because they think it's biblical. And interestingly enough, they don't have the trumpets eclipse on here, and this was just 13 days ago. So they're
Right.
still trying to act like it wasn't going to happen. And the only reason they're even talking about it now is because they weren't raptured. And they're not going to be raptured either. The rapture is at the end of the tribulation. It's what the Bible dictates and states. And they're very confused. But continue, please. I'm sorry.
But it is a neat connection, what it says at Exodus 4:8
Yeah.
to the 4:8 eclipse. It's not Little Egypt. There is a city in Illinois called Cairo. Right? So Cairo is a city in Egypt. But we'll get to Cairo here. We actually went to Cairo.
Yeah, we stopped
That
there.
is so awesome. God sent the first sign on August 21st, 2017. Nobody believed it. And now he's sending the second sign on
So no.
April 8th.
No, we're saying that the trumpets, the true trumpets, the day before trumpets, as the moon crosses the sun, right? Then we see what we call the new moon, which happens directly after that. That is the first sign that you are all denying.
4:8 as laid out in Exodus 4:8. And the pathway of these two eclipses crisscross right at Cairo, Illinois.
All right. So here's Cairo. It's at the very southern tip of Illinois. And it is nothing special. In fact, we'll take a look at it.
Notice
But
that cross point over top of the bottom of Illinois.
yeah, so Carbondale was a city that we did go to. NASA was there during the Great American Eclipse, and we trolled them. We told them that we're in a virtual reality, and they said, "Guess what? You can't prove that you're not."
Yeah, so the one guy agreed with us. One guy.
Yeah. And so this Effingham city right here does come up in Aaron's videos coming up. They call this Little Egypt. Let's take a look at this Cairo, Illinois. This was from a year ago. Some YouTuber went here and did a little drive around checking out Cairo. They call this the worst ghost town in the Midwest.
It's true. It was the grossest scare. We got in, we got out. I had never even seen, I'm from Canada. I had never seen anything like this in my entire life. There was people living on their front lawns. There was bricks, houses. It's crazy how dilapidated and, just like you guys should have seen this town.
Yeah, I'll give them a peek. It was scary. So in the Midwest, like upper Wisconsin, there's a couple little rundown cities that are just pure dumps that everybody's moved out of. I've never seen anything like this. This actually made me nervous. We drove in here, drove through a couple streets, and then we got out of there fast. Check this out.
Family nearby, or they love their community. For some people.
So this is the types of homes that this is the main street here that you see
Can't
everywhere.
force them out of their homes, no matter what. I get that, and I'm sure
Everything is closed. Everything is shuttered.
their homes.
Yeah, there's no
But
stores.
for every person who dies or moves away, there's not a person to replace them. One day, this place won't be here at all. Right now, we're watching live another former great
Every storefront looks like this.
U.S. city fade away, 1 year at a time.
There was a lot of racism, right? They put a lot
We
of
went to
slaves.
Cairo, which
Check out these places coming up.
and
Cairo.
I mean, we drove through it and saw it. A lot of
This is Main Street in this city. Look at,
I've never seen
Illinois
anything
is
like this.
A lot of Illinois Illinois is a really dysfunctional place.
Yeah.
And it has been.
This is Main
People
Street.
living in this
And
rubble. There's
the
people
southern
when we were
part
living in
has
that.
always. So Danville's central more,
Mhm.
but there's kind of like Chicago, and then there's everything else. Interesting, a history
These are the side streets.
as Cairo. That's a place I was told by local, like people who lived close by, like you should never go there alone. They were saying it's Mad Max.
Mad Max.
It's true. It's true. Wow.
Yeah, these are the neighborhoods of Cairo.
Illinois Bank, and then there'll be like Illinois Bank and Trust, and then like it just names of banks that you've never really heard of, but they look official. I agree. I
Right.
never really thought about that, but yeah, there are several small little banks and
So everybody promoting that this is Little Egypt,
Like some great city that's somehow biblical or something.
pure nonsense. We went there. We checked it out. It's just like that. So here we go. We've got
we've really got the first time any of the so-called rapture watchers are going to mention the eclipse that's coming up in October. And this was streamed a day ago by Aaron and these guys. They're sort of new, but let's see what Aaron has to say about this eclipse coming up in October.
If you want to connect with Mark and Keith later, they are in my Discord. That link is in the description box below, and I'm sure they'd love to talk to you and answer any questions. So, all right, I'm going to say one more thing now about these eclipses, and then we're going to get into a conversation here with Keith and Mark. They've got a lot to say, so I don't want to step in their way. There is 3 main eclipses, and I'm going to share my screen here.
This is saying 3 main eclipses. Nobody in the rapture community has said anything like this. He was the first. So we got to give it to Aaron to actually be the first one to even talk about this, even though we...
Yeah, but then he came out and said they were 6 months,
We'll get to it.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
There's 3 main eclipses that over the states, the United States of America. There's a 2017 one. There's a
That's this one.
2024 one. There's a 2020.
That's this one. Oh, here's the 2023 one.
That this top one, I believe that the top one is 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
And then the one that's going towards the ground, or towards the bottom of the screen, is the 2023 one.
He says
And
it
the one that's going
quietly.
from bottom to right is the 2024 one. So there is some very, very significant things here, and I just want to share one of the most exciting things that I found out today, sort of in partnership with Cynthia, what she sent, and just kind of on my own digging things up. But it sounds like Keith and Mark already knew this, but this is the most exciting thing for me so far. I mean, there's so many things that are exciting, but in the conjunction at the bottom of this A, which looks like an aleph, with Keith will show later on, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. At the bottom, the conjunction is at a place called Kerrville, Texas.
It's
Well, it's place.
yeah, Kerrville is in that in the crossing, but it's not really close to the center. It's just in the crossing.
Yeah.
And
we've
that's
been
a
there.
place where there is a massive sculptures of Jesus and a massive place where there's a cross, an empty cross. So the place is called the Coming King Sculpture Prayer Garden. So the conjunction of these 2 eclipses conjunct
It's not there.
perfectly, over a place that is called the Coming King, where there's a massive giant cross. And then, if that weren't enough, the other side of the A, the other intersection where the other eclipses meet, the largest cross in the United States of America is slightly north of that area. It's pretty much in conjunction with the large.
Yeah, well, he's not talking about the one that we went to. He's talking about another one that he said it's close to that area. It was not. It was not in the path of totality in 2017, and it's just on the very, very, very edge of totality for the one coming in 2024.
Largest cross in North America, in Effingham. I think it's Effingham,
Oh
Illinois.
yeah, hold on. Do you have the correct one in Alto Pass?
Yeah, I've got all that stuff.
Okay, because he's saying it was Effingham, and he absolutely missed the actual spot where the 2 crosses dead center.
Yeah, because there is a massive cross right in the crosshairs, but we went there. We've got the footage. He doesn't make any reference to it. He talks about one that wasn't in the first eclipse and just
Come on, these guys in there sussing. They're effing hams, right? They're effing ham, and they're sus and they're pig nonsense.
Yeah, that's effing pig, right?
Yeah, effing pig.
So I can share that later as well. But these eclipses are giving us a sign, and it's very, very encouraging. It's very, very, very interesting.
There is a sign there.
For me, in my opinion,
You
this
know
is
what
a
they
left
do? They
behind
say
sign.
things like encouraging. Well, they're lying to you. Well, they're telling you that you're not going to get left behind because they watched some movie in the 90s and 80s.
All right, so he's gonna he wants to show everybody this cross. All right, it's a big cross.
Generally, where the upper connection is with these 2 eclipses, with this giant, massive cross.
It's not the connection either.
And then the other cross is here. I'm going to show you the other cross at conjunction And bear with me as I switch my screens here. And this is what Cynthia sent to me. So can you guys see this video here? Or that
Crazy
picture,
that
I
we
should
went
say.
to Kerrville too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. So let's take a look at some of this here a little closer.
I really enjoyed it.
So here's a map of the eclipse, and you see Effingham right here. So
Just barely in the would have. So that's just barely within where you would see the entire sun covered by the moon.
yeah, but so this was not in the 2017, because 2017 came through at an angle like this.
He's showing
So-
the wrong eclipse.
Let me show you. This X marks the spot. Where we went was right by the crosshair right here.
there.
So here is the 2017 eclipse. This is the center of the path of totality. Here's the 2024. Here is the center of the path of totality. So
You
this
chose that spot perfectly. You chose it perfectly.
So this right here is the intersection of the crosses. And if you do a little research, this road right up here, here's Effingham up here. So you can clearly see that it was out of totality here, just on the borderline. But there is a massive cross right here.
He missed it. Oh, how did he miss it?
Yeah, so Carbondale, we didn't even want to watch the eclipse from Carbondale, where a lot of people went.
It was too far away for us.
Yeah, we wanted to be in the crosshairs. So right here, live from Alto Pass. Let's see, one of these.
I was formerly the event skeptic back then. I hadn't changed my YouTube channel to the Limitless Channel, and now RJ Shine.
I thought I had another clip of this. Where is? Oh, here.
It says live.
This one.
There's your crop.
Yeah, so
It was massive.
this was streamed August 21st, 2017.
Live from the eclipse.
Alto Pass, so check it out. This is the spot we found.
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Praying.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
We were excited. Drove up from Texas.
I thought I was gonna get raptured. Okay, I'll admit it.
Forgive us.
Here we were. We were all excited.
Wow, I've changed a lot.
I had my Eclipse Party shirt on, so the hotel we were staying at,
Hawaiian shirt.
I got a free T-shirt out of it. But there's the cross on the hill up there, and that is this cross. It's the Bald Knob Cross, and this is 111 feet tall, so it's just a little bit shorter than the one in Effingham, but it actually this is at the crosshairs of where the eclipses cross. All right, so
Actual real crosshairs.
yeah. I thought it was pretty neat. They had this lighting ceremony. This took place on...
The amount of hours.
This took place December 22nd, 2012. So a lot of people that are spiritual were keyed into December 21st, 2012. There's Mayan calendar. It was supposed to be end of the world.
Awakening.
The Great Awakening. So they lit this. They lit this right at that time period. This was their first time lighting it up. Check this out.
Blood, sweat, and tears that has gone into the restoration of this cross.
To thank each of you again for your contributions and for coming out tonight to help celebrate and to see the Bald Knob Cross of Peace be lit once again to shine brightly in the night as an inspirational beacon.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there
be light."
And there was light.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Over the hills and everywhere I go,
that's exciting, right?
That was great.
Yeah, so this is where we got to watch the eclipse. Now, he's also bringing up Kerrville. And I didn't know that they had the big cross in Kerrville. But let's take a look at this here. So this is the crossing. This path right here is the one that's coming up October 14th. And this path right here is the one that's happening in 2024. And Kerrville's right here. It's a beautiful place. And
it really was nice.
Anybody that wants to go watch the eclipse here, I think you'll be pleased, right? And there is a cross there. Aaron's going to show it. And but we like to go for the dead center. So we found an Airbnb that's actually right here between the 4 and the 2 in the absolute dead center crosshairs. So we get maximum totality both directions. Where Kerrville will not have maximum totality both directions.
And again, all I'm going to say is that Jason and I have always been, when I met Jason 7 years and 4 days ago, the only thing that the two of us ever cared about was the truth. And we wanted to be as accurate as we possibly could. Now, you could follow guys like Aaron, and they're going to tell you you're going to get raptured, and it's an absolute lie from the pits of hell. Or you can come out and you can follow us, and you can lead yourself to the truth, and we're going to pinpoint you directly over the target every time. And we're going to continue to do it for the rest of time until at the end, when everybody is taken off the earth, at the very end of the tribulation. So go on, it's just about being accurate. It's not about being better, but the truth is the truth. Aaron's going to lie and deceive, and Jason is going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, so we actually live in the path of totality of the 2024. We're right next to Cedar Park here in Leander, and it's not the center. I want to be in maximum totality both directions, right?
Both, yes, all the time. Every time we can, we try to be as accurate as we can, and that's what our record is going to state.
Yeah. So this is Kerrville, though.
So I'm just going to press play.
It's about the same distance away that Effingham was.
This is an aerial view.
Altopass. They were off the exact same amount on both of the eclipses. How is that even possible?
They're just not accurate.
They're close. They're close, but his name's not Jesus, and the rapture isn't until the end of the tribulation, guys. It's not the beginning. Come on. I don't want to have to do the pig faces. I want them to come for the truth. How much I just wish that everybody would just want the truth.
All right. So then they get into the Aleph. All right. So
the ah.
Yeah, so this right here, one of these guys is going to talk about, I think he's like some sort of science teacher, and how having these eclipses, 3 eclipses in the same area within 7 years is considered impossible. All right, in heliocentrism, it takes like 300 years in order to get eclipses in the same place like this. But we have all 3 eclipses hitting the same area within 7 years. So they do talk about how this has to be a miracle. This has to be something set up by the Creator, because this doesn't happen otherwise.
And this isn't Oort cloud asteroids. This is actual witnessable, observable signs in the heavens of the sun and the moon being darkened and turned to blood.
Yeah, go there with your camera and film a totality. Now, the one coming up is, I think they're neater than a totality, because it's a ring of fire, which seems very judgmental, right?
Yeah.
From about 1400 BC to about 70 AD, the symbols aren't the same as the ones that are used now.
Paleo Hebrew, he's
the
trying to
symbols on the
allude to.
screen here
The
are
and the
an
ta.
aleph and a ta, and that is the beginning and the end of the
He's
Hebrew
speaking
alphabet.
Yiddish, not Hebrew.
Isn't that
Yiddish.
incredible?
Yeah. So if Jesus was, when Jesus said,
So this guy's presentation takes it to heliocentrism, and that's the reason why I started with how this is absolutely impossible in heliocentrism. These models, as soon as you go to model it, you're going to see that heliocentrism doesn't work, but nobody goes to model it.
Look at this stupid model they have, because the sun is what, how many 100 times larger, and it's just so 400 times further away than the moon's 400 times smaller. It's just so ridiculous.
Now they do take this cataclysmic, and I do sort of, yeah, I sort of like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
he bring up the hurricane.
Yeah, he points to this cross right here, and so Corpus Christi, I guess, is where Harvey sort of. I thought it was more Houston centered, but maybe it was.
Galveston.
Yeah. So big hurricane here. They're going to talk.
I wanted to point out is when that eclipse did take place in 2017, I experienced my first hurricane, and we were 300 some odd miles away from it or more. And we were just devastated. We were inundated with the river flood. It went up, 20 feet? The river
30 feet.
30 feet up into the air. It was the craziest thing I had ever experienced. And we are expecting crazy things to start taking place after this eclipse too. But it's so far into the fall, I don't know exactly how it's going to impact.
Yeah, so this is Tornado Alley right here. This is Volcano Zone right here. And they're going to talk about the New Madrid area earthquake-wise. So these three corners sort of have their own specific disasters that they're prone to here.
Is all the way up at the top where the green circle is, and that is Crater Lake in Oregon. And then the white circle shows Yellowstone.
So they go into the whole
interesting
Salem.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about Salem.
Yeah, all those cities named Salem that were in the path. But the thing is when you look, some of the cities that they say were in the path named Salem weren't actually in the path. Not of totality.
Close, but not close with everything. And then they do bring up the idea of there could be a great earthquake, and what I had been calling was the super volcano eruption in Yosemite.
Yeah, so this area right here, when we looked at Cairo, Egypt, what it is it's right at the convergence of the Mississippi and the Ohio River. And one of the reasons why Cairo, Illinois is just such a crap hole is because it's so prone to flooding. All right, it's right at the mouth of these rivers right here. Let's show everybody how
a lot they flood.
How dumb it would be to to have a city here.
I'm surprised it's not Rapture Watcher City.
Did you see this?
Guys, I want to stop with this, but you guys are going to push us to the end.
I gotta. This is what you just type in Cairo, Illinois, and look at the types of pictures that. This is, I mean, this is like. There's City Chamber of Commerce, how they're inviting people to come check out Cairo, right? But if you look at the maps here, here's the Mississippi, here's the Ohio. What do you think happens when the Mississippi or the Ohio River flood? It's just going to absolutely inundate this entire area. This is the dumbest place you could ever place a city ever. Let's go back to there. So that's right here. So if you had a massive earthquake right here, yeah, all this is going to just be ravaged. They have some stats here. If it happened today, St. Louis and Memphis would be uninhabitable. 3,500 highway bridges would be damaged. Railroads and highways would be destroyed. Millions of people with no water. 7 million people need shelter. Over 120,000 buildings would be damaged. And they're saying it would be like 40 billion in damages for
That'd
each
be crazy.
each state in this area.
Just absolutely insane. And there's a good chance that, yes, this is going to start happening. So people better be prepared for crazy earthquakes.
All right, so they actually did mention the eclipse coming up in October, which is the day before trumpets. They won't tell you that.
No, they're going to deny that. Well, now that they're not going to get raptured, and we can guarantee they're not going to get raptured on this ridiculous Bob saying that it's on the Day of Atonement, which is the end of, he's saying it's definitely a Jubilee year. And then he says Aaron and Barry proved it out, but then they don't show any evidence. And we tried to explain to them that the final 7 years is the final Shemitah of the 120 Jubilees, which gives you 6,000 years. Christ's millennial kingdom begins on 2030. That's how the math actually works.
All right, so then Aaron today put this out where he says the hopeful 2023 rapture and the eclipses 6666. All right, so let's check out
an extra 6. Right?
Well, let's watch what he did here. Everybody tell me if you think that this makes sense.
This guy's a Satanist. Look at him. That's a Christian's face, huh? I don't think so.
Hey everyone, it's Aaron from Got a Minute. Thank you for all your support, friends and family, brothers and sisters. If you are new to this channel, if you're looking for ways to support, the links are always in the description box below.
Pause
and if you
it.
simply just want to join
this guy's story that he was a music teacher and the coronavirus ended his career, right? Except it's over now. Start doing your music teaching again. Stop taking people's money. You're going to pay for it.
He's just a grifter.
The Got a Minute community, there are so many things in the description box below. We did an awesome live stream with Brother Keith and Brother Mark talking about these eclipses, and I think they were incredible. I think they were a sign of God's judgment. So somebody said in the comment, Christy found it, and I don't know where it was. I went looking for it, couldn't find it, so thank you whoever mentioned this. But from the eclipse of August 21st, 2017 to April 8th, depending on how you count it, is 6.
He's saying depending on how you count it. Watch this.
Years.
Math magic.
Months. 6 weeks. 6 days.
This is so stupid. You can divide it up any way. It could be 6 years, 5 months, 12 weeks. I mean,
yeah. So 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks. What doesn't 6 weeks make a month and a half? All right.
So now it's 7 months and 6 days.
Yeah, if you actually plug in the real dates and you go from August 21st, 2017 to April 8th, 2024, it's 6 years, 7 months, and 18 days.
Yeah, not 6666, Aaron. You Satanist. You joke, you grifter, you thief, taking money from old women.
And he
joke.
And he did this to April 9th. Right, and then here's his
date.
Yeah, it's not even the right date. It's larger units.
Again, all these guys is off. Oh, larger units.
Months, years are added before the smaller units, days.
And every single person that follows Aaron and gets duped by him, come on, give your head a shake too. I mean, come on, wake up.
And then alternative result, Monday, April 8th. Well, this is when it actually is. He's right? If the smaller units days are added first. I mean, what kind of horse shit is that?
And then he's going to bring out Strong's Concordance. He's going to and then we're going to line it up with an asteroid Oort cloud. And guess what? You didn't get raptured, and you're not going to get raptured on atonement. And then what are you going to do? These guys are all running scared because now they think, we're going to have to be here for another year. Now you're just going to grift more. But they grifted so hard this year with this stupid Revelation 12 fake sign where they didn't have anything that worked. The sun wasn't at her feet. She wasn't in the moon. There wasn't the 12 stars on her head, but yet they grifted and they tried to make as much money as they can. They're selling t-shirts, hats. It's crazy.
From the eclipse of 2017 to the eclipse of 2024, going over the United States of America, is 6
What's
months,
wrong with this
6
kid?
weeks, 6
What makes
days.
him? I guess he's an adult. What makes his head want to add something up and make that? Again, it's mathematical number. You could do anything with the numbers, right? Why do you think Yahawashai didn't want to number the people? Why? Who was it? It was Azazel, Satan, who does this number stuff. What is wrong with this guy's brain? How do you see a number and let's try to see if we can divide it by 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days? It's not even the correct date.
6 weeks. 6 weeks is what just cracks me up. I mean, I'm surprised. Right? I'm surprised he didn't turn it into 666,000 or like
6 seconds.
Yeah, right.
It shows his heart condition. And before you go, I want to point out something at the end of the video.
Yeah, 6 trillion nanoseconds.
Do the math in the other one, but the math between the 2023 and 2024 is right around 6 months as well. Let me pause here for a second, find that out. Yeah, that's
Go and
a
sip
little
your
bit
coffee
shy of
some
6
more, you
months.
clown.
It's really close to 6 prophetic months. It's just a few more days than 180 days. Very interesting how it all works out. But the big thing here is the 2 eclipses from 2017 to 2024. 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days. This is a very significant gap.
He's always
like I said
slurping his
before, the
tongue and he
eclipse
can't
length,
breathe.
Is
He's
4
chewing
minutes,
on his
26
mic, which he doesn't
seconds.
even
In
have
Strong's
said
Hebrew
correctly.
Concordance, that means God. And in Strong's
Oh, here
Greek,
we go.
426.
Let's get our tarot cards
that
out,
means-
everybody. Let's get
essentially
our
it means
tarot deck.
Nope. Just take a number, look it up in Strong's.
And remember, they only have 66 books out of 360. You're going to have the correct Strong's Concordance. You need to have from the first book of Adam and Eve till the end of the book of Revelation.
Make sure you've got the Book of Enoch in there, all of them, every single one.
Please, Jasher, all of them. Enoch 1, Enoch 2, the book of Maccabee. I could go on, and these guys are just clowns. It's a joke what they've done to the truth. It's a joke, and they're going to pay.
judgment, or somebody examined by aid or by torture or is on trial. So essentially, this eclipse means God judges, and it makes the shape of an aleph and a tav. These eclipses. So we did an awesome live stream. Please check that out. A lot of detail in there. And just to remind you,
there was no V.
That the first
Tav.
conjunction of where the 2 eclipses meet.
This is Kerrville. This is Kerrville.
In the cross.
Well, it's not in the dead center. It is in the intersection though, which this would be a great viewing location for the eclipse. It just wouldn't give you maximum totality.
At the bottom of the aleph, it meets over a place in Kerrville, Texas, which means the coming king. I mean, there's a garden called the Coming King Sculpture Prayer Garden. So it's going over there with this giant cross. That's where the 2 eclipses meet at the first conjunction of the aleph. And then the second conjunction in that same eclipse, it crosses the path of 2017, where there's another.
Everything these guys do is wrong.
Yeah, this was.
How often?
This was not in the 2017 eclipse, and is just on the edge of the 2024.
Cross in Effingham, Chicago, Illinois, just slightly.
So this is effing pig, right?
Yeah, effing pig. I told you these guys are all obsessed with pigs.
The outside of that conjunction, one of the biggest crosses in the U.S. So on the same day, the 2024 eclipse goes over the first cross, which is called the Coming King Garden, Coming King Sculpture Prayer Garden, and then on the same day it goes over the other largest, one of the largest crosses in the United States of America, in Effingham, in Chicago.
Why not talk about the cross that's literally in the crosshairs? All right,
Dead
this
center.
one. Why not talk about that one?
So there are much more details to consider and look at, but this is just a short one. If you missed our live stream, I highly recommend it. It's not a waste of time. Go to the live stream area on the channel and enjoy. I think this is a sign of judgment, and I hope we are out of here well before all these things happen. Go, Jesus, go.
Not going to happen.
Absolutely not going to. Hold on, I don't want to leave it yet. Let's watch the end here. I want to point something out. Can we go to the end? I want to point something out in this Rapture Watch or someone here. You guys aren't in love. You think this guy on the screen here loves you while he's taking money from old women? You think he loves the truth? He hates the truth. You got to show the end.
Oh,
I want to point something out. When he talks in alter egos, he's also demonically possessed. But look at his end. Oh, does he not do it in this one? It's fine.
No, this is all he does here. He just blasts. That's it.
That's crazy. You guys go ahead if you want to follow Aaron straight to the pits of hell, full of lies and disinformation. Go ahead.
Nah. Well, we'll continue to bash on these guys every single time they put out their disinformation. Show what just Vatican psyop agents, liars, Freemasons, Jesuits, grifters.
You know, the scriptures speak that a man should use his hands to work, right? This is 2023. Aaron thinks it's okay to take money from women. women that work hard for their money, but you're gonna make them feel like they're doing something righteous because you're too lazy to get a job.
So here we are at 922. Tomorrow 923. This is the actual equinox, everybody. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, if you go out and you watch the sunrise, you're going to see that it's starting to come up just south of east. And that's the equinox. Now the equilux will be coming up a little bit after that. These are possibilities for a second seal opening coming up, everybody. Especially because the New World Order is acting like we're in the 10 days of awe coming up to the 25th here, where they're going to say it's the Day of Atonement. Now there's going to be tons of shills that'll say it's on the 26th. Some people will say it's on the 24th. Some people will say, you know, it's the 24th through the 26th, even though it's a one-day thing. They will just say everything wrong possible. This is all an entire month off. But because of this, remember the Yom Kippur War? So if they're going to do a fake war over in Israel, or some sort of false flag, staged event, something like that, there's a good chance that they would do it tied to the 25th here. So this could be the second seal being opened here. Now we get to something real, and that's that annular Ring of Fire eclipse coming up on October 14th. Then the next day, on the 15th, as the sun goes down, we're going to be watching for that new moon sighting. That is going to be the first day of trumpets. And then here's the real 10 days of awe. The real Day of Atonement begins at sundown October 23rd and ends at sundown October 24th. Then we have an actual blood moon taking place that is going to be visible from Jerusalem. We won't be able to see it here in this part of the world, but this is the first day of Tabernacles, and yeah, so that is the season that we're in right now. Another big exciting day coming up would be the 8th day of Tabernacles. That's going to be November 6th, and then if you count backwards 1260 days from Passover in 2027, you'll find that here in the West it would be 11:10, all right, but if it's 11:10 here, that means that it's already 11:11 on the east part of the world. We're talking over by the international date line, you know, Australia, New Zealand, those type of people. They'll see 11:11 on the clock because of the way the day turns at midnight, the way the Gregorian system is set up. So this right here could be the Great Tribulation, 11:11, and that's, you know, there's a lot of coding for that. Well, they call it like Remembrance Day. It's a war thing, right? So that is what's coming up, people. That is the real stuff. This isn't Orc Cloud, gematria type crap. This is
Tarot deck card.
Real things that we can see. So sun darkened October 14th and the moon turned to blood on the 28th, 29th, depending on where you are in the world. All right, so
yeah, I'm excited. And you know, I don't, when we're out here right now, this is go time. We're fighting for the truth. This isn't a joke, right? You might go and click on somebody else's channel if you've just tuned in here, and they're going to feed you nonsense and lies and tell you how beautiful and cuddly everything is, and that Jesus died for you to be a sinner and liar. It's absolutely not what you're going to get here. We're going to tell you to tie up your shoes, stand up straight, start speaking truth, and fear Yahawashai and his judgments. Don't be taking money from any old ladies. Start being nice to people and actually get up and do things that are truthful, and be humble when you're corrected. Take correction. Jason and I shouldn't have to get to this point.
Or young ladies, or old men, or young men.
Or young men. You're right. You shouldn't just say older ladies. I mean, they're taking money from tons of people. I'm not being specific. I'm just giving a broad generalization, because I know that people, generally older females and males, that go to church, they do like to give their money away. They do. Older people in their 70s and 80s. And that's who Aaron is preying on.
Yep. I'm surprised he hasn't asked for people for their, deeds to their houses and all that kind of stuff yet.
He might.
All right. Well, that is the debunks of Cavendish, of gravity. We've debunked heliocentrism multiple ways tonight. We got them with the eclipses as well. And the eclipses are coming up, and they are signs for us. And they're coming up soon, everybody, so I'm excited.
Me too.
Anything else, brother?
No, it's great. Thank you for speaking truth tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in the chat. Please leave a comment below in the comment section. Let us know what you thought.
Yeah, so just everybody, so you know, the calendar on the right is the real one. That's the one that you're going to find under Fundamental Truth number 5 in the description box. The one on the left is the New World Order, Freemasonic, Jewish calendar over here. All right, so don't fall for this one. Pay attention to this one. And I guess that's it. Where's the only place people are going to find this, brother?
Only on the Yahawashai News Network.